Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. This week we are working on a stitch tutorial, and the stitch I'm going to be showing you is called the almond stitch. And as you can see, it creates this beautiful staggered almond pattern, and it looks super intricate, but I promise you it is so easy. So you beginners out there, if you have started learning your half double crochet, you're good to go, because this whole pattern is created using slip stitches and half double crochet stitches. Now it is not reversible, so this is the front where you can see the outside ridges of the almonds pushing forward, and the back has the inside or the alcoves of the almonds pushing through. Now it doesn't mean that it's not reversible per se, but each side does have a definite look. I just love this. This would be beautiful for a scarf or a hat. A baby blanket would be nice too. Cardigan, pullover, a blanket, an afghan. I mean, you can do anything with this stitch, and it works up pretty quickly. Now, it is a 4-row repeat. So for you super beginners out there, don't let that scare you. It just means it takes 4 rows to create your initial almond shaping. And once you've got those 4 rows, you just keep repeating row 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. And once you get in the groove of it, you'll find it's very, very simple. So I hope you have fun working on this tutorial today, and I look forward to hearing what you plan on using this stitch for. What project are you going to create using this stitch? So how about we get our materials together and let's dive into the almond stitch. Okay, so for this tutorial today, I'm just using some leftover yarn. This is, they call it a medium weight 4, but it's actually I would call it a lightweight number 3 yarn. It's the Baby Love yarn. I don't have the label. I will put a graphic up for it on the screen there in case you want to use the same yarn. But I'm just using that for the tutorial today, and I'm actually going to do it holding 2 ends together. Okay, so just in case you're wondering. And the hook size I'm going to be using is a 5mm hook, which is also known as an H or a size 8 for those of you that use a different hook labels. And anytime you're working on anything, make sure you have a pair of scissors and a darning needle to sew in your ends. So let's begin working on our almond stitch. Okay, so we want to start by placing a slip knot on our hook. And this stitch is done in multiples of 8 plus 5. So what that means is you're going to chain up the length that you desire. If you're working on a blanket or a top or anything like that, or a scarf, you want to do it in sets of 8. So for example, in this example, I'm going to do 24, so 8 times 3. So I'm doing 3 sets of 8 times 24. I will then add an additional 5 chains at the end. So in total for my swatch here, I'm going to have 29 chains. Okay, so you want to go ahead and start off by chaining in multiples of 8 plus 5. As always, be very aware not to chain your first chain too tightly. If you are a tight crocheter, please feel free to go ahead and use the next size up to create a little bit of a more relaxed chain. Okay, once you have your chains completed, you just want to make sure they're nice and even like that. And so we're going to begin our pattern. Now to create the almond stitch, it is a 4-row repeat, and that means it's going to take 4 rows of stitches to create the actual look of the pattern. So this is row 1. So in row 1, what we want to do is we want to find the second chain from our hook. The loop on the hook never counts as a stitch. Remember that. So we're going to find the second chain 1 and 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to place a slip stitch into that stitch. Now because we're working with slip stitches, you definitely want to be aware not to chain too tightly. Sorry, not to stitch too tightly, because we are going to have to go back and work into that same stitch. So it's very important here not to stitch tightly. Into each of the next 3 stitches, we want to place a slip stitch again. So slip stitch there, that's the second one we've done. Next slip stitch is the third and the fourth in total. Okay, so in total we have 4 slip stitches. So we did that first one and then we did an additional 3. So your work is going to look something like that. Okay, now into each of the next 4 chains, we're going to do a half double crochet. So that means you're going to yarn over and into the very next stitch. You're going to insert your hook so that you now have 3 loops on the hook. This is for you super beginners out there. You're going to yarn over and then you're going to pull through all 3. Okay, and that's your half double crochet. You're going to repeat that for each of the next 3 stitches. Yarn over, insert, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And again, there's the third. And then one more. Just like that. Okay, so your work is looking, it'll look like a little fishtail actually. So you've got 4 slip stitches and 4 half double crochets. This is essentially what we're alternating for the entire row. So we're now going to go back and do 4 slip stitches. So into each of the next 4 stitches, I'm going to go into here and I'm going to slip stitch. Again, being very cognizant not to stitch tightly because I need to be able to work back into those stitches for row number 2. So there's the second one. There is the third one. And there is the fourth one. Okay. So now you can see you've got the narrow section, you've got the thicker section back down to the narrow section. And then we repeat it, 4 half double crochets. So hopefully you can kind of see the effect that we're going for here. 4 slip stitches and 4 half double crochets. And you're going to repeat this all the way to the end of your row, to the end of your chains. And you should end with 4 slip stitches into the last 4 chains. Okay, so that's the way this pattern is designed. Okay, so you've got slip stitches 4, 4 half doubles, 4 slips, 4 half doubles, etc. So you're going to finish that and you should end up with 4 slip stitches at the end. So go ahead and do that and I will meet you once you've completed row number 1. Okay, so I have completed row 1 and I now have a total of 24 stitches and this should remain the same for every row after this. Okay, so I just finished with my last 4 stitches being a slip stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to row number 2, which is actually going to be a repeat of row number 1. So that means we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to slip stitch into the very first 4 stitches. And that's why it's important not to stitch too tightly because slip stitches are the shortest of all the stitches and it can be tricky. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right back into the very first stitch there, which is that first slip stitch. And we're going to place a slip stitch 1 into the next one. We're going to place another slip stitch. That's 2 into the next one. So the slip stitches, you're just going to need to help along a little bit because they are a little bit more shallow. There's 3. And here is our 4th one. Okay. And now what we're going to do is, by the way, we're going to be working into the back loops only of all of our stitches from now on. Now, a slip stitch, you kind of have no choice but to go into the back loop. So that's why I didn't mention it, but I probably should have mentioned it at the very beginning. So now the next 4 stitches we have are our half double crochet stitches. We are going to place 1 half double crochet into each half double crochet, but we are going to work them into the back loops only. Okay, so this is the back of the previous row. So be careful that, see, the half double crochet has these side V's, but it also has the V's along the top. These are the loops we're going to worry about. So The loop closest to you is the front. The loop furthest away is the back loop. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the back loop of this very next stitch here. So right through there. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know this purple yarn is a little darker. Okay, and then pull through all three. So again, into the next one, back loop only. Pushing that through there. Pull up 3 loops. And I think you get the gist. So I'm going to do that again. This is the third one. And pull through. And then we have one more, yarn over, back loop only. And there we have it. So now you can really see the shape forming here. So we've got our short stitches and then we've got our slightly taller stitches. So now we're going to continue on to our slip stitches as usual. So for row 2, you're just going to follow what you see. So now I see 4 slip stitches. I'm going to do 4 slip stitches on top of those. Don't worry if these start to stretch a little bit. That's normal in the beginning. So there is my slip stitch there, and I'm just going to help my hook a little bit through there, which is normal with slip stitches. See, and I keep it nice and relaxed, and then I slip stitch again. Okay, just like that. And again, into the third one. And into the last one. Okay, and then we've got the half doubles, we do half doubles, etc., etc. Remember, you are working into the back loops only, so you can see the little ridges forming there. And if you turn your work, there's your first little almond shape complete. Pretty straightforward. I love how that looks. Okay, so go ahead, finish row 2, and then we will go on to row number 3 where things change up just a little bit. Okay, so I've finished row number 2, and now you can really see that almond shape taking form. And so we're going to go on to row number 3. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to alternate for 2 rows. You will begin and end the rows with 4 slip stitches. And then for the next 2 rows, you're going to begin and end the rows with half double crochet stitches. So we're going on to row number 3. So we're going to chain 1 first, turn our work, and now into these first 4 stitches, we're going to do a half double crochet into each. Remember, we're going to work into the back loops only. So you might just have to turn it a little bit so you can see the tops of your stitches there. You're going to yarn over into that very first stitch. You're going to go into the back loop and half double crochet. So for the next 2 rows, you're going to have half double crochet stitches sitting on top of slip stitches. So again, yarn over, find the back loop of the next stitch. And again, this is why it is super important not to be too tight with those slip stitches. Okay, and again, this is the third one. And then we have one more. That's the 4th one right there, back loop. Okay, so now we've got 4 half doubles on top of slip stitches. Now we've got half double crochets in which we're going to place 4 slip stitches, 1 into each stitch. So again, into the back loop, I'm going to slip stitch. There's the second one. Here is the third one, keeping that slip stitch relaxed. And here is the 4th one. Okay, and then the next 4 stitches are going to be 4 half double crochets. So you pretty much should get the gist right now, and you can start to see where the shape is going to change a little wee bit. So I'm going to leave you to do that to the end of the row. I think you pretty much get the pattern. So this is going to be now 4 half doubles on top of these slips. It's going to be 4 slip stitches on top of the half doubles, and then you're going to repeat half double crochets, slip stitches, half double crochets. So row 3 will begin and end with half double crochet stitches. So go ahead and finish that, and I will meet you when we're ready to do row 4. Okay, I have completed row number 3. So now you can start to see where the almonds are alternating and nestling into each other. So row 4 is a repeat of row number 3. So you would chain 1, turn your work, and now we're just going to repeat what we see. So this is a half double crochet start. So I'm going to yarn over, find that very first stitch again, and into the back loops only, do a half double crochet. So you pretty much should get the gist of it by now. You're just going to repeat what you did in row number 3. Whoops. So I just always like to get you guys started, because sometimes if you're a little bit newer, turning your work and starting a new row can be sometimes a little bit daunting. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and finish row number 4, just so you can see what it looks like. That will be the completion of the actual stitch. And then you would just continue to repeat rows 1 through 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this row, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I have completed row number 4. So our stitch pattern or our stitch repeat is now complete. So I have finished with my half double crochets. So now I would just go back and repeat row number 1. So for row number 1, you would chain 1, turn your work, and we're going to go back to using the slip stitches. So now it's a little bit easier to kind of figure out. When you're doing row 1 and 2, you're always going to start with 4 slip stitches and then half doubles, slip stitches, half doubles, and you're going to end with 4 slip stitches. Rows 3 and 4 are going to begin with half double crochets, slip stitches, half double slip, and it's going to end with half double crochets. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat this repeat, for lack of a better word, several more times, just so it'll work up a bit more of a wider swatch, so you can really see the effect of this stitch. I will also leave some timestamps down below where you can reference row 1, row 2, 3, and 4. So if you ever just want to go to a particular spot, you can do that, okay? So I will be back very shortly so that you can see what this stitch looks like worked up in a little bit more of a wider swatch. Okay, so I've gone ahead and completed 16 rows, so you can really see how the pattern just takes this beautiful shape. I just love it. Now there's so many things you can do with this stitch, such a fabulous stitch. You can just do so many different great things with it. Now I am going to be working on a project using this stitch coming up shortly, and if you are watching this video in the future, just check the description box down below. I will be sure to leave a link for the exact project that I used this stitch on. So for the most part, I hope you actually found it fairly easy. The cool thing about stitches like this is it looks really intricate and complicated. But with this one, as long as you know your slip stitch and your half double crochet, you are good to go. So I hope you enjoyed kind of discovering these little secrets of how to use basic stitches to create really embellished motifs. Now, if you have any questions, as always, just leave me a comment in the comment box down below, or you can always reach me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com, and come and check out the website crochetcrafty.com, and make sure to sign up for my monthly newsletter, because I give away a free written pattern every month. Now, if you're new here, I invite you to click that subscribe button and come and join the fam. I upload a brand new tutorial every Wednesday morning. And come and say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. So for now, I hope you have a fabulous week. Enjoy your crochet projects. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next session. Bye-bye.